Good evening, everyone. This is Natalia. Welcome to session 5 of mobile application testing. Can you hear me? All right. Well, we haven't seen each other in a week, right? So, any questions regarding Android Studio? And another thing, Donnie, I need you, Donnie Walker. Can you hear me right now? Donnie? Yes. All right. Listen, we received a message from, yeah, you are in a little trouble, but not because of us. Looks like you're having some problems with the homework and you kind of, you feel a little lost in there. So what's going on? I got your message from Christina. So what is it? Are you just joining us, or you don't understand the homework, or what's going on in there? Because you're aware that we have a Google Drive. I'm just trying to figure out where you are in testing. Because when I receive messages like this, I get really concerned. So I need to see your situation. So to be clear as to what it was. Okay. Well, team leaders, anybody's here? Gleb? Archie? Okay. Okay. Guys, can you please contact Donnie and figure out what problem is he having, and if you're unable to solve it, send him to me. Okay. Donnie, we have my contact. You have my contact information in an info file. So, but thank you, Archie. First, contact Archie. He will be able to try to help you. The hard cases go to me. Worst case worst, just contact me after you talk to team leaders, because they are there to help. So you guys, I wanted to praise you again. Very, very organized. Just a moment. Very organized class. Main table looks perfect. You're the first class that did not actually, mess up the table too much. But somebody is constantly messing up with logo, but I can live with this. So team leaders, there is some bugs in here. If you see non-applicable, unable to reproduce, in about 90% of the cases, change the bug status in Bugzilla to fixed and change this field to gray. Okay, so we would know that this bug is fixed. Do you understand, Archie? All right, thank you so much. Just I will put it in a homework, but you're gonna be the one who probably gonna be doing this. So everything looks good. Now, iOS people, please type 1. I will be explaining to you what we're gonna be doing next. This is for iOS devices only. For Android devices, I will give a separate application to test. So, like I said, Lamotive is our main project. Everything else is extra, just to put in your resume as an experience. There is an application, Social Petals. It is in your the documentation is in your Google Drive. Okay, so hold on just 1 second. And hold on, sorry, Social Petals. Okay, it's just the flyer. It's a fundraising application, iOS only. Download it from the App Store. Also, this one is your documentation tag. Okay, Zafar, are you here? Thank you for starting doing that. Put your device's information in here. Next sequence is 44. Just continue with the sequence. First and most, I want you to go through the problems that's been already reported and get familiar with what people are reporting, okay? If you find something new, it's gonna be on a different table. I will give you an extra tab for this to report your bugs, okay? Do not touch this page. So this is the company that's also located here in San Francisco, California, and they gave us the project. For Android, I will be giving the VPN, Virtual Private Network application. I will give instructions in the homework. Android people, type 2 that you understood. So Android people, you wouldn't test or start testing the social petals. Your application is going to be a secure keyboard. Social petals is only for iOS. Okay, guys, so any questions while we are here? And we can start the lecture. Any questions? It is available in the App Store. Everybody is downloading it from there. Yes, you can test iPad, Alexei. You have to access, or you can just put the keyword social petals. So, Donnie, seems like you're having a problem. Just contact our team leaders. Cannot find social petals. Try different combination of, yes, exactly, type it together. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Anya. So, okay, guys. If it's not, try to report it to me. Okay, guys? Okay. So this is kind of new to me because we, all of us here, it's a new project we're downloading from the United States. So, and because it's local, so it might not be available. If not, we'll try something else with you. So, Ildar, where do you live? Well, you're in USA. Okay, I need somebody from the other country like Russia right now. Who is in Russia right now? Anna, where do you live? Oh, okay, Timur. Okay, are you guys okay? Can you find it? St. Petersburg. I'm from St. Petersburg originally. I haven't been there since 1991, but still love my city. Okay. So it looks like you are able to find it, Katerina. Katerina, Archie, okay, Russian App Store. Dmitry, were you able to download? Yeah, try to Apple Store from USA, please. That's interesting. Thank you guys for letting me know because I wasn't aware of that. So, okay, guys. Any outstanding questions? Just type it. I always go through it after the sessions, but I have an evening class after you guys, so I will put my hands on it tomorrow. Okay, so last time we were discussing the Lineage operating system, which was a cyanogen mode, right, before, and they are continuing with their versions as a Lineage right now. So let's just see. how it's corresponding and what it has, because both for like a marshmallow, which is OS 13 cyanogen and lineage corresponding, is the like they're mimicking the versions and they're mimicking the controls. So what are the most important controls for like marshmallow at that time and lineage? I wouldn't say that OS 13 is exactly lineage. It was still cyanogen mod. Lineage still in development as a the brand name, and we'll talk about it later. So for now, just think of cyanogen as a lineage, so I wouldn't get you confused too much. So what is those? These are the main features of the marshmallow, okay, that were transferred to this operating system. And it's kind of interesting because you guys have to know, it's part of the interview questions. So tell me, what are the main functionality being implemented in each operating system that made it so unique? So basically, what is DOS? DOS is functionality that was first introduced in Marshmallow. And what it does, it basically increases your battery life by putting your device into the hibernation mode when the device is not in use. So what happens, it's when in DOS mode, your device will limit CPU and network intensive tasks to conserve the battery life. And with Android devices, it's also always been a huge issue. Then permissions control and a privacy guard. It was a new privacy features that was introduced to the operating system. That enables the user to allow or disallow a particular application from accessing certain device information, such as your contacts or camera. And we see more and more like notifications from the permission control. So do you want to give the permission, or you enable permission, or you don't want to give the permission? So it's pretty cool feature that really saves us a lot of time. Then we have the application standby, and it determines which applications have not been used recently on your device, and then puts them into the sleep mode, so these apps no longer consume again precious battery. And it's kind of clearly identifies your activity on this or that application. So and then if you're not using it, it just puts it to the sleep mode eventually. Then quick settings files, and an existing popular feature of cyanogen is quick settings tiles management, which has been added to Marshmallow in that update. So what it does, it allows you to customize the layout and options directly via the quick settings panel. So you can enlarge first row or show weather, so whatever you want to do. So then we have the true caller mode for messaging, and Cyanogen OS is already integrated with the true caller for an enhanced dial experience. So the user able to screen calls via caller ID and block unwanted spam directly from the native dialer. Right now it's just such a cool thing that if the number is not familiar to you, many of us receive the message scam likely. So it's kind of sorts out this phone calls, and the beginning of that was in Marshmallow by using this true caller mode partially. So it's kind of been a big improvement with that one. So like I said, 13 was corresponding to the Marshmallow, so 14.1 is corresponding to Nougat, okay? So same thing, guys. everything you'll find in Nougat, and then some whatever you have, you will find in cyanogen mode and lineage right now. So it's a great experience, and now we are slowly moving to the OS 15. It's not been released because it's less than a month ago the Oreo was released, so it's not ready. But the next lineage, and it's gonna be completely just nothing with the cyanogen. You ever hear the this term again, it's always gonna be lineage. So lineage OS 15 is gonna be corresponding to Oreo, which is 8.0. Okay, now we're gonna go through the frameworks, guys. And what are the frameworks is the main component. And let's just get the terminology of the software framework and just frameworks and know the difference. So software framework in computer programming is an abstraction in which common code providing generic functionality can be selectively overridden or specialized by user code providing specific functionality. Frameworks are a special case of a software libraries in that they are reusable abstractions of code wrapped in a well-defined application programming interface. We call it APIs. Yet they contain some key distinguishing features that separate them from the normal libraries. So software frameworks have these distinguishing features that separate them from libraries or just a normal user applications. They have the inversion of control, and what is it is that in a framework, unlike in libraries or normal user applications, the overall program's flow of control is not dictated by the caller, but by the framework. Default behavior, and I probably have to go a little bit about the inversion of control. So probably it's easier to explain to you that a framework can be defined as a set of libraries that say, so don't call us, we'll call you, okay? Then we have the default behavior. This is distinguishing feature 2. So this default behavior must actually be some useful behavior and not a series of no-ops. Then we have the extensibility, and the framework can be extended by the user, usually by selecting overriding or specialized by user code providing specific functionality. And it's another distinguishing feature is a non-modifiable framework code. The framework code in general is not allowed to be modified. Users can extend the framework but not modify the code. So software frameworks yeah, hold on, just guys, just a second. I should mention one more thing. That the software frameworks typically contain considerable housekeeping and utility code in order to help bootstrap user applications, but generally focus, like, for example, on specific problem domains such as artistic drawing and financial modeling and decision support system. We have the multimedia framework where media playback and authoring is implemented. We have a web framework, middleware. We have a Cactus framework. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's like it's a high performance scientific computing. Also, we have the application framework that we're going to be covering in the next couple of slides. And what it does is like a general graphic users interface applications. Then we have Oracle application development framework. So just simplifying things by quite a bit, you can view a framework as an application that is complete except for the actual functionality. So the developers plug the functionality in, and you have the application. So another example that I would present right now for you to understand. For example, graphic user interface framework. So the framework contains everything you need to make an application. Indeed, you can often trivially make a minimal application with very few lines of source that does absolutely nothing. But it does give you a window management, some sub-window management, menus, button bars, and etc. So that's the framework side of things. There is a similar types of frameworks for web applications, for server-side applications, and etc. But in each case, the framework provides the bulk of tedious, repetitive code, I hope so, while you provide the actual problem domain functionality. So basically, the developers just filling up an empty containers that are pre-designed with some functionality, some rules. They're filling up these containers and with functionality, and you have an application. So let's just to understand even more, let's just get the architecture of Android, and this is the frameworks and applications and libraries and Linux kernels. So application framework sits on top of native libraries, Android runtime, and Linux kernels. So this framework comes pre-installed with high-level building blocks that developers can use to program applications. And we're going to be talking a little bit later about the most important components of the framework. But right now we need to go through this architecture, and let me explain to you what each of these boxes and layers mean, so you would understand better the architecture of the Android. So if you can see, there are 4 levels, right, in the Android architecture, and the bottom level is the Linux kernels. Linux kernels, it's libraries, okay, and contains libraries of the drivers. So Android is built on top of Linux 2.6 kernel. That's why when we are, for example, rooting the device, we are modifying Linux kernels. We are modifying this part while we are rooting. Contrary on Apple devices, it is just kernel that we are modifying. So Linux kernel provides the basic system functionality such as process management, memory management, and device management. Linux kernel also provides an array of device drivers which make our task easier while interfacing the Android with peripheral devices. So we need a minimum set of drivers to boot up our device and our hardware to work. Then we have the libraries, and it is on top of Linux kernel. It provides different libraries useful for well-functioning of Android operating system. Libraries are Java libraries built specific for Android, Java libraries for Android operating system. If you can see the Surface Manager responsible for Windows management. This is OpenGL, ES. This is graphic libraries, which is responsible for 3D and 2G. Then we have media framework. This is responsible for all your video and processing. FreeType is a keyboard. SSL, this is your security layer. SQLite also is responsible for all this management. WebKit, GPS related services, and libc. This is the libraries that are written in C language. Then we have Android runtime. This is basically what makes your Android to be an Android. It's a third component of the Android architecture and placed in a second layer from the bottom. So provides the most important part of Android, and you probably heard many times Dalvik virtual machine. Dalvik virtual machine, this is what makes your Android to be Android. Dalvik virtual machine is similar to Java virtual machine, Java virtual machine that enables a computer to run a Java program. So, but Dalvik virtual machine, only difference that it is designed and optimized for Android. Dalvik virtual machine uses core functions of Linux, such as a memory management and multi-threading, and enables each Android app to run its own process. With the application network, we're going to be talking in the next slide. And let's just move to the applications, because we're going to be thoroughly covering this part. So in applications, it's usually created by the third-party users or developers and installed on your device. Now, this is a little bit of the information that I was talking about, just for your information. And what we're going to do, we're going to be talking about the blocks, the most important blocks that Android application is having. So let's just discuss every single block and learn what to do, what each block is designed to do. So activity manager, activity is a single focus thing. So activities can run in the foreground, giving direct interaction to the, for example, current window or tab. They can run as a background services, or they can be embedded in other activities. So activity manager is basically the manages the life cycle of the application. Content provider, it's basically stores and retrieves data and makes accessible to all applications. So it handles data across applications globally. And Android comes with a set of built-in content providers to handle multimedia data or contacts or something similar. So developers can make up their own providers for flexibility, or they can incorporate their data in one of the existing providers. Then we have the view system. And a view system binds all the classes together that handle graphical user interface related elements. So all views elements are arranged in hierarchical single tree manner. They can be called from Java code or included in XML layout files. Then we have the resource manager, and the resource manager handles all non-code things. And what I mean under non-code things, it can be anything range from like icons or graphics or text. So such resources reside under resources directory, which call a res directory, and it is responsible for all non-code things. So location services This bundle supports fine-grained location providers such as a GPS and coarse-grained location providers such as cell phone triangulation. So Location Manager System Service is the central component of location framework. So this system service providers an underlying advanced programming interface to access device location information. And notification manager, and everything you receive, the alerts, notifications, this is something that is responsible for such as services. So basically you probably know that each operating system, each device is built using its own framework. And like for example, iOS, the framework they are using is the Cocoa Touch. And Windows Phone, their framework is the .NET. So, of course, you know, there are so many frameworks that are available to help the developers focus on creating. And the frameworks is something, you know, when they start writing the application, it's not that they have to do it from scratch. You know, they take the container with the preloaded functionality, they start filling it up to build the application. And of course, you know, somebody always making money of us, so it's kind of pretty much set up environment that people are making money on people who are making money. Now we have the API for applications, okay? And for example, applications APIs, this is probably the greatest thing that been ever invented. So what is the API? It's a set of functions, classes, and libraries or packages. We call it frameworks, right? So API, allowing developers access an application services by using the different programming languages. And APIs, they include routines, data structures, object classes, and variables that is available. So generally speaking, the API is you make a call, okay, and you receive the response. And another example, for example, for APIs is with the APIs, the exact structure of the request and response is documented up front. So it is likely to remain constant regardless of whether something changes its look or feel or for human visitors. But without the API, application relies, for example, on a website that is never changing its look. But if it does, the application may stop working because it cannot understand the website or web page if we're testing anymore. So it is like I created this little box for you to give another example. So, for example, this API, and this is the box, I consider this APIs, okay, takes circles, triangles, and squares and lets them into the box. It forces the user or client program to organize the inputs going into the box to the designer liking, presumably that they're easier to work with. For example, we have the magic elves. And if magic elf lived in this box, we could also have this API serve data out by having the elves push the shapes back out of the holes. So this would be useful to the user or client program because now the outputs would come out in the way users expect them to. So we would expect squares to come out of the square hole and not circles. And this example of API would do that. There is a tutorial, guys, link that you are welcome to use to understand more about the application APIs. But you will be surprised that there are many different types of APIs for operating systems, applications, or websites. Windows, for example, has many API sets that are used by system hardware and applications. So, for example, when you copy and paste text from one application to another, it is an API that is allow you to do and perform this action. So we have some most popular APIs, and here's the examples. Google Maps API lets developers embed Google Maps on web pages using the JavaScript or Flash interface. The Google Maps API is designed to work on mobile devices and desktop browsers. YouTube APIs. Google's APIs lets developers integrate YouTube videos and functionality into websites or applications. Your YouTube API include the YouTube Analytics API, YouTube Data API, Live Streaming API, and some others. Then we have the Flickr. And Flickr API is used by developers to access the Flick photo sharing community data. This API consists of a set of callable methods and some API endpoints. Let's go to the Twitter APIs. It actually offers two kinds of APIs. You probably heard the term, the REST API, right? And this is one API that the Twitter uses. The REST API allows developers to access core Twitter data, and the Search API provides methods for developers to interact with Twitter search and trends data. Big one is the Amazon Product Advertising API, and it gives developers access to Amazon's product selection and discovery functionality to advertise Amazon products to monetize a website. And then we have the User Engage. It is an engagement tool, marketing automation platform that tracks your visitors, helps to create marketing campaign, and collects data about your users. So it's a kind of a spy, software that you can use. So services, guys, mobile, it's all about services. And we have a few mobile services that we have to go through to understand. It's not only the device that we are having into our pocket. It's a big tool that we can use and what we can do with this. So basically the biggest one is the mobile authentication, is the verification of a user identity through the use of a mobile device and one or more authentication methods for secure access. Right now, what kind of a secure accesses we have to our devices? Guys? What are they? Well, password, what else? Fingerprint. Yes, of course, it's a fingerprint. And the Apple, what? Face ID. Yes, absolutely. So some alternative methods, you just, absolutely sign a PIN, Touch ID. Yes. So you guys are great. So you know pretty much. So whatever it is, it's a non-text passwords where symbols or images might be chosen from the randomly generated field. It's a digital certificates using a public key infrastructure. We have smart cards with stored authentication data. And also we have the OTP, which is the one-time passwords through the applications or the SMS messages, right? So when somebody is giving us. Server logic, it goes through the web server and the application server. So the web server handles the HTTP protocol, which we are sending requests, right? The protocol. And when the web server receives the HTTP request, it responds with HTTP response, such as sending back an HTML page. The application server, according to like my definition, an application server exposes business logic to client applications through the various protocols, possibly including HTTP. While a web server mainly deals with sending HTML for display in a web browser, an application server provides access to business logic for use by client application programs. Then we have the notifications. And what are the push notifications? It's basically the messages that pops up on your mobile device, and ad pushers can send them at any time. So users don't have to be in the app or using their devices to receive them. Why do we have those notifications? So the push notifications. They provide convenience at some point, and value to app users. And for example, if people are interested, they can receive, like, for example, sports scores and news right on their lock screen, right? Utility messages like traffic, weather, or ski snow reports, flight check-in, change connection information. So there are always the good things and the bad things about the notification. But the best thing is right now you can disable all the notification and just put your phone into don't disturb mode. That's it. Then, of course, there is a mobile application performance monitoring. It's easy to track and manage errors from client service. Real user monitoring, that's a spyware pretty much, right now, to collect the performance data from your mobile device. You can get the deep user level context by identifying and analyzing bugs and application crashes. Then it's pretty much the mobile data keeps you connected on the go, and it can gain a wireless access to the internet, and depending on how much you use the internet and where, having a data enabled device will give the best of both worlds, giving on-the-go access to the information that you need. Then we have the scaling, which means keeping the behavior of the application the same as load. So it's mostly like when you're performing the load testing, it can give you this data measurement. And also the diagnostic, we're going to be talking about the monitoring analytics tools that it can easily track and provide you with all information. So another services is the banking. So, and it's banking today is the omni-channel service, and a test strategy for the banking sector needs to cover mobile, internet, cloud, or social, while keeping the compliance requirements in mind. So what are the most important things? The reliability, scalability, and correctness of data. It's very important. So, for example, we will be going through the banking test cases very soon, and it is very challenging because it is variety of internet connections and browsers. Usage paths, because internet banking is rich in functionality. So and you can have a huge number of usage paths, unlike most other, like for example, websites or applications. Different users may access different link sequences, for example. Usability testing is security testing is one of the most important things for the banking. Performance testing, like a certain time periods, for example, like payday or festival seasons, bring a spike in traffic. It is very challenging because the broad range of the devices, the configuration and design vulnerabilities. And, time to the market, because banks are frequently in rush to attract customers with new features. So rush to market causes testing teams to cut short on testing, and it can bring a very serious consequences on the testing result and bring the vulnerability and malicious functionality to your device, and you can break it, or the data would be leaked and your account could be hacked. So then location-based services. Location-based is an information service and has number of uses in social networking today as information in entertainment or security, which is accessible with mobile devices through the mobile network, and which uses information on the geographical position of the mobile device. So what can you do with the location-based services? And you have to understand, guys, location-based services is pretty much a big part of any application right now, because we are using the location-based services. We need store locators, okay? So retail customers can quickly find the nearest store location. Proximity-based marketing, so local companies can push ads only to individuals within the same geographic location. Travel information, it can deliver real-time information such as the traffic updates or weather reports to the smartphone so the user can plan accordingly. Roadside assistance is the big one, so in the event of a blown tire, what we need is the roadside assistant. We need to track our children. We can track our family members. Especially it's good for the children right now because we can track them, if they're taking the same path when they're coming from school, So it's kind of it's an electronic leash, guys, but, nothing we can do about that, and we are happy. And, of course, maps for us is something very, very big. So, then we have the cloud services, guys, cloud services and infrastructure. So what it is that the mobile cloud is an internet-based data applications, and it is related services accessed through the smartphones and the laptops, and it is very big right now on the because right now most of the data is stored on the cloud. Mobile cloud computing, we call it MCC, is the combination of cloud computing, mobile computing, and wireless network to bring rich computational resources to mobile users and also network operators, as well as cloud computing providers. So it is very challenging because the mobile cloud should provide a big sync, okay, of variety of data and the context. And it's still, even with the fast 4G networks, there will still be pockets on non-networked areas and times, and when the device is offline, and but you know, every application that is using the cloud technology, it is very, very intelligent application. So important aspect of mobile cloud is the ability to remotely manage devices over the air, and also perform the diagnostic, perform the analytics, perform the monitoring of these devices, and also it should clean up the data after itself when it is used. And you know, it's also found in this technology is pretty much implemented very, very deeply into the smartphones and Blackberries and iPhones, and but we are expecting lots and lots of these capabilities to be implemented on the lower end devices. So then we have the analytics. Analytics is separated in 3 categories. So into the application analytics, digital analytics, and web analytics. It tracks, measures, and understands how the mobile users are interacting with mobile sites and mobile applications. Let's just talk about each of the analytics. So application analytics, it is involves measuring and analyzing data generated by mobile platforms and properties such as mobile sites and mobile applications. Internet mobile analytics and application analytics lets you track, measure, and understand how your mobile users are interacting with your mobile applications. Then we have the digital analytics. It encompasses the collection, measurement, analysis, visualization, and interpretation of a digital data, illustrating user behavior on websites, mobile sites, and mobile applications. So an important component of the digital intelligence, this is how we call it, digital analytics enable brands and website owners or application owners to understand how their sites and applications are being found and used. So using digital analytics data, companies can optimize the customer experience on their websites, mobile apps, and also optimize their marketing ROI and overall business performance. So what is the web analytics? It groups together the measurement, collection, analysis, and presentation of data from the internet in order to understand and optimize how websites are used. So web analytics lets you precisely study user behavior on your website. There is nothing better, for the marketing is to know the exact analytics for the device. So these are the most popular analytics tools. There's a absolute attribution and the Flurry, and they are considered to be the best analytic tools. So I want you guys to at home to use this video and the link to this video and check more. Very, very common interview question, believe it or not. Then we have the testing and the monitoring. And let's see what are the devices and what is it available right now. So there's a Keynote Device Anywhere and Perfecto Mobile. It's also our remote device accesses. Also the AirWatch, the Sortie. These are the tools. So basically mobile device management, which is MDM, is the administrative area dealing with deployment, securing, monitoring, integrating, and managing mobile devices. So mobile device management software allows distribution of applications, data, and configuration settings and patches for such devices. So the ideal mobile device management tool is compatible with all common handheld device operating platforms and applications. It can function through the multiple service providers, and one of the biggest one, it can be implemented directly over the air. And it can also deploy next generation hardware, and it can add or remove the devices through the network. Then this is the explanation about this monitoring, and in our industry you're going to be hearing more and more about these two huge companies that are pretty much competing with each other, but they all have their own customers. They perfect the mobile and device anywhere. They're competing, but they have their own audience. Like device anywhere by Keynote is mostly used here in the United States and Europe, and Perfecto Mobile is very popular in Asia and South Asia because they support lots and lots of Asian and South Asian languages. So it's one of those things. It's also the great tool, which is remote device accesses, and what they do, they basically provide the real devices for you. And you probably confused, how can they provide, the devices? They basically, when we start doing the Android Studio, when we connect the device and make it remote, you would understand how it works. They let you connect to their device via IP. Okay, so it's a real device, you're just testing, and it's really one of the biggest and probably the most expensive, tools your company can spend money on, because you pay by hour when using the device. So by first 10 minutes it is free. But you should also kind of reserve the device for yourself, and then you just charge by hours, 15 hours minimum. So it's pretty expensive, but when you need to do something, then you are pretty much set if you do not have the real device in hand. Mobile commerce platforms. So let's talk about that. It is the term that describes online sales transactions that use wireless electronic devices, like mobile phones or laptops. So these wireless devices interact with the computer network. They have the ability to conduct online merchandise purchases. How many people are using online purchasing? Probably 100% by now. So I myself, really stopped going to the store because it's just, it's not worth it, because online is much cheaper, right? And you can do from your home, and it's convenient. But there are always the pros and cons. So the pros that it is an increased access to user data. For example, you're requesting their Facebook login, right? You can use the better use of a screen and not inside of the browser when it's the application. You can use your camera, and you're always using your native applications. And you can basically, lots of time you can access this without having, like, for example, very, very, very high network connections. And it is up to you how it's being shown. Well, the bad thing is that the application needs to be downloaded, upgraded, and if, maybe you bought something once from this application, and then you uninstall it, you probably never go back. So these applications that you love, which is a mobile mobile commerce platforms, then you just keep it, right? You hardly download something else unless there's really something interesting. So that's why these applications, if your company is doing it, it should be done right from the first attempt. And then we have, of course, advertising platforms and services. It's a usually third-party network that allows advertisers to publish text and graphics or animated advertisement on mobile websites and applications. So it is providing a mechanism that facilitates the monetization of sites and applications through targeted advertising channels designed to gain revenue from the traffic of mobile users. Of course, pros: if you are successful, it's an effective advertisement. This is your price. It is location based, so you are pretty much having the customers that are local. It has more options than anything else. But cons are, you do not know the actual number, right, of the users that you've seen this advertising, because everything they see by their naked eyes is not really known to you. Privacy concerns, yeah, if your application get, hacked or anything, all your users that are logged in or something, they're going to be exposed. And the cost of adaptation, because it's constantly moving the requirements, the situation changes, there's sales going on, so you just constantly have to work on this. Okay guys, this is it for today, and you actually survived part 1, and we just went through the part 1 of the mobile application testing. So we're gonna start our session, the next session, on Monday night, and we will continue doing some testing and projects, and we'll be going on and moving on. Thank you so much for being with me. Good night, everyone. Your homework is going to be posted tomorrow.